Hi, Julie here with a card making video today. The card I am making, or cards, I'm making 3 of them, are for the challenge over at Make the Card Challenge, and this is challenge number 66. Challenge is to use the sketch provided. So I decided to make 3 cards and make each one different but using the same sketch. So I've made a square card, a rectangular card and a mini slimline card. I decided to use 3 different papers for my cards. Now the first one is a traditional style card and square 5 1/4 inch, and I'm using Bow Bunny paper called Father Christmas. Now I've cut this panel out and I'm going to trim that down so it's the same size as the front of my card. I'm going to use my Spellbinders Label 3 die and cut 3 decreasing sized shaped squares from an assortment of pattern papers from this range. Once I have my shapes cut, I'm going to use my Distress ink in Vintage Photo to ink around the edges. Then I'm going to use a piece of this green ribbon that's got Merry Christmas written on it, and I'm going to cut a piece and attach it to that larger panel, the actual card front panel. I'm going to use double-sided tape on the back to hold that in place, and also add a little bit of tape under the ribbon itself on the front of the card. Now it's time to add my 3 die cut shapes on top of that ribbon into the centre of my card front. I'm just going to use double-sided tape for that, and I'm going to attach them flat onto the card front. The Christmas cards that I'm making will probably go in the mail, so I'm thinking that I'm going to try and keep them as flat as possible. I'm also going to attach that front card panel to the front of the card, getting that lined up as closely as possible. Does take a little bit of work, but yeah, I get there. I'm going to use this die for my sentiment for this card. Now I'm not sure, but I think this may have come on the front of a magazine or something, but anyway, I've used that die to cut from Gold Mirror card. I actually cut 2 while I was at it because I didn't want to go back and have to do it again if I messed one up. But I'm going to use my art glitter glue on the back of this to stick it to the front of the card. Now I end up making a big mess here, way too much glue goes everywhere, but I did manage to clean it up, and in the end it looks fine. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to do for my sentiment. So I'm going to stamp on the inside, and I'm going to use this Crafter's Choice clear stamp. It's MAB40. I have only just recently bought it and I can't even remember where I bought it from. But I'm going to use an acrylic block and my Versafine Onyx Black ink. The Onyx Black ink is such a great ink to stamp with. I'm not even going to use my stamping platform. So I'm just going to stamp that one that says "'Tis the season to be jolly" on the inside of the card. So for my second card, I'm going to use this card from a pack by Uniquely Creative. It's called Rectangular Cards and Envelopes. And I'm going to use a paper range from SEI called Christmas Mint. Now I have had these papers for at least 10 years, so I'll be very surprised if you can find them about. But they are beautiful papers, and I try not to use them actually because I want to keep them because they're so nice. But anyway, I've decided that they must be used. Now I wanted to put a front panel on this card, and so that I knew that the white card would match the card base, I actually cut up another one of the card bases that were in the pack, and I trimmed that down so they've got about 1/8 of an inch, I suppose, all the way around, so about 1/4 of an inch smaller than my card base. So this is just a bit of a look at the few papers that I have left in this range. I've used most of it and I've only got this bit left. I can't quite bring myself to cut this full sheet up yet. I can't see how I would use it as a full sheet, but I can't bring myself to cut it up. Now that white panel I cut up, I've taken that to my Big Shot and I've run it through using a Cutterbee embossing folder, and it's just got all little Christmas baubles on it, and I'm going to use that as the background for my front panel. Now on this card I'm going to use my black Versafine cube to ink around all of my papers. There's going to be a few layers and each one of them will be having this black ink around the edge. Now I have this lime green sheer ribbon that I'm going to use to wrap around my front panel. I'm going to attach it at the back with some tape and just wrap it around. Now I wrap it around maybe, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 times. I'm not sure how many times I wrap it around, but I wanted it to be more than just one band, and because it's sheer, I like the variation that you get where the ribbon overlaps, so you get some lighter colour and some darker colour. I think it just adds a little bit of interest. Now I've got this one piece of red cardstock that goes with this range, and this piece that I have is the only piece that I have, so I'm going to try and find the best way to use it. To start with, I'm going to cut one piece that is 3 3/8 by 5 inches. Then I'm going to create 1, 2, 3, 4 layers on the front of this card on top of that white embossed panel. So once I've cut that red piece, I'm going to cut a piece of the green, the lime green spot, and then another piece of the red. Now each one of these pieces is going to be 1/4 of an inch shorter and 1/4 of an inch wider than the previous piece. I thought I was going to use this piece of cardstock that's got a lot of baubles on it, but when I put it on the card front I thought it was too busy and wasn't enough of a focal point. So this is where I cut into my big sheet, and up the top there was one single bauble on its own, a sort of teardrop shaped one with red. So I thought that would be an ideal focal point for my card front, so I cut that down, or cut it out of my large card. And that's when I decided that because of the green background to that front focal piece and the green spot, it needed the red between the two layers to make that focal layer stand out a little more. Time now to ink all of my edges and attach all of my layers. Once again, I'm going to use double-sided tape for this, and I am not adding any foam or cardboard because once again I plan on putting these through the post. I will put a link in the description box to this challenge over at Make the Card Challenge. If there's a sketch, you can interpret that however you like. I just decided to do Christmas cards because it's just about that time of the year for me, and I do use about 30 or 40 Christmas cards each year, so good time to start now. I will also put a link to the products that I can find that I use in the description box if that's of interest to you, if you just want to have a look and see what you've got that's similar. So the greeting for this card is from a Uniquely Creative packet, one of their Christmas sentiments kits, and I'm just going to, you can foil these, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it black so that it stands out on that front cover, and attach that with using some art glitter glue. Now for the inside of this card, I'm going to use a woodware stamp, and it's called Useful Christmas, and I'm going to use the one that says Have a Wonderful Christmas. I'm going to stamp it in exactly the same way that I did for the previous card, so use my Versafine Onyx black ink and an acrylic block and just stamp it into the inside of the card. So for my third card, I'm going for this DCWV Merry and Bright Christmas pad. So I've used traditional vintage coloured cardstock now, and then I've used traditional bright coloured cardstock, and now I'm going for a non-traditional Christmas colours. So my card base is 8 1/4 inches by 3 1/4 inches. I'm going to choose 2 pattern papers, or I'm going to choose 3 pattern papers actually. The black one with the white lines on it, I'm going to cut that so that it's 8 inches by 3 inches. Then I'm going to choose a piece of the white one there with the Christmas trees on it. I'm going to cut that to 7 3/4 by 2 3/4. And then I'm going to bring in a little strip of pink, and that is going to be 8 1/4 by 1 inch. So they're going to be the basis for my card. I'm replacing the ribbon this time with the pink pattern paper, and it will be on top of the layers and not underneath. I used my Scissors nesting ovals die to cut a oval from the black card. Now I'm going to cut the one size up from gold mirror card. I also cut a strip of the gold mirror card 8 1/4 inches by 1/2 inch, and that will lay on top of that pink strip. Now that I have all my layers, I'm going to ink around the edges of all of my papers. Time now to attach all of my layers to the front of my card. I think I might have made 1 or 2 slimline cards before, but it's not a size that I make very often, and I don't mind them actually, so I might make a few more as time goes by. So I don't know what, I tend to always make square cards, 5 1/4 inch square cards. Where I got that idea from, I've got no idea, but that seems to be my preference. But I really probably need to make a few different sizes. So because I've got gold on this card, I decided to use that second die cut Merry Christmas from the gold mirror card for the sentiment on this card. And instead of making a big mess with the glue like I did last time, I decided to put a little bit of the glue onto an acrylic block and then use an old makeup sponge to just dab the glue onto the back of the sentiment so I don't make such a hash of it. And I saw this on YouTube. I thought it was a really good little trick, so I'm trying it here, and I have to say it worked perfectly. So when I bought this paper range, I also bought the clear stamps, and one of the sentiments in there says Season's Greetings, so I'm going to use that on the inside of this card. It also comes with a Happy Holidays, but for my likes, I prefer to have Christmas or Season's Greetings. I'm not a Happy Holidays sort of person. I'm going to stamp that in exactly the same way using an acrylic block and of course the Versafine Onyx black ink. If you haven't got any of this ink, I would suggest you get some. It is great for stamping sentiments, whether they're fine or bold. They always turn out perfectly. So there we have my 3 cards for today. So they were all created using the same sketch. They are each using a different style of paper. So one vintage, one more modern Christmas colours, and then the non-traditional Christmas colours. I've got 3 different sizes and shapes. So I've got a square, a rectangle, and an oblong rectangle. So yeah, you can do lots of things with the same sketch, so check out the challenge, and yeah, all the best, good luck, and I hope you can join me when I create my next video. Bye.